And 3, 2, 1. And slate.
Repto. How was everyone doing this fine Saturday night? I am one of your hosts for the PS Comics I Love You podcast, JR Cabacungan, aka the Dark King, and of course my compatriot, my compadre, my partner in crime, like always, to my left or right, one of those things, is the one, the only.
I am Kevin Pillow at Voice of Reason 23. Sorry about that little alert going off in the background. Don't know why that went off because I have my phone on vibrate because this isn't my first time doing a radio show. But yeah, I'm Kevin Pillow. Thank you guys for joining us this week. This is the show that we've been trying to do for about a month and a half now. This is our final. This is us finally doing the watch along review and kind of a breakdown of Black Widow. And so if you're joining us, we're going to get right after it real quick because it's about a 2-hour movie. We're going to go through the news and notes, talk about a bunch of stuff, and we'll jump in the movie. The beginning's kind of pretty basic. So if you want to load up Disney Plus, or if you've got it on digital, like my man JR, you can do that.
$30.
What's up?
$30 freaking dollars.
Yeah, I paid $30 and I've had it for the last 2 months. So gonna hit play. Boom, there we go. Right off the bat, JR, let's talk about, from my vantage point, seeing this movie back in early June, late June at the premiere. Yeah. Packed house at the El Capitan Theater. The second that, first off, probably the biggest ovations of the night was the introduction of Kevin Feige, who was there. The moment the Marvel Studios logo came up and that the iconic kind of rhythm starts, and the ending, it actually got a standing ovation at the end of the movie. A lot of it did have to do with the end credit scenes, which we will get to when we get to it. By the way, when we get to the end of the movie, because we've never done a Marvel Studios or a movie that has a end credit scene, we'll fast forward to it. So we'll as soon as the movie's over, we'll get to the end credit scene. And yes, spoiler alert, there is obviously an end credit scene in this movie. Of course, it's been out for 2 months, but we're underway. And in this movie, they're in Ohio. It's 86 or something.
No, 1995.
Oh, 1995. Okay.
Yeah.
And you have Yelena and Natasha kind of hanging out. Now, we don't technically know that yet, but it's them. We know it is. And of course, my girl, Yelena, right there, just chilling. But so yeah, we're seeing, they're kind of explaining to us that these two they're kids. I mean, that's what they are.
Yeah.
And it's a different time. So I was really kind of curious as how they were going to do this with going to, this early on and with the kids being this young. I'm like, okay, how are they going to get turned into super spies? We find that out here in just a couple of minutes, but we're going to pop in on the, of course, we get to see Rachel Weisz with some de-aging, which doesn't necessarily she doesn't need a lot of de-aging because
she's looked the same forever. Yeah. She's amazing.
So that's what's going on right there. Let's get into it. News and notes as we we'll check in on the movie as we go along. It was a busy week. Gamescom was over in Germany.
Cologne,
this is different than E3, but similar concept. It's a convention based in Germany, held every year in Cologne, with the exception of last year because of the pandemic. They streamed last year. Were they live this year? I couldn't remember. I know they streamed last year.
They're live. They did stream last year, but it was very sparse because they didn't know exactly what, how they're gonna get a hold of people. And it was kind of similar. It was bigger than last year, but smaller than what it usually is, if that makes any sense, right?
Yeah.
And so they did stream again this year. They streamed on multiple platforms, YouTube, Twitch, other social media sites, and the publishers and the developers that went there, they of course they released their own trailers on their own YouTubes and social media stuff. And so yeah, they it was what you would expect from a COVID stricken, a COVID pandemic stricken years now, that you have a convention s type of thing going, right? And it's just live streaming. It's basically the same thing. You just I watch the IGN streams every now and then, or in the last couple of days, where see if what came to be. For those who, of course, for those who are in the know or have known about these conventions for video games, like 3 or 4 big ones usually come to mind. Of course, the you have E3, which is the biggest out of all of them. You have Gamescom. I forgot the Japanese one, Japanese Game Show. No, Tokyo Game Show, and there's about maybe 1 to 2 more out there. It's just usually the biggest ones is gonna be E3, while Gamescom before has had some announcements, some pretty good announcements. Like it just the last couple of years, the last couple of generations has always been like majority of the bigger companies and like Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, they reveal all their big games at E3. And they kind of do a trickle, and they do it kind of a trickle down effect. Like, it's the same game now, right? They're gonna show the exact same thing at Gamescom. They're gonna show the exact same thing at Tokyo Game Show, TGS, and all the other shows, right? There's nothing really too new. Every now and then you get like a random announcement. We did have some new announcements though this Gamescom, which was cool, which was great. Some games had finally. If y'all have been listening to us the last couple of times when we talked about video games, they finally released some actual gameplay footage, which I am happy about. There's still, that CGI game announcement that's still out there, but like they showed gameplay for Horizon Zero, for Forza Horizon 5, the medium for PS5. For PS5, they did a Saints Row reboot, right? They initially came with a CG. They initially came with a CGI trailer, and then they did a developer like, I don't know what you call it, like conversation, I guess. It's a developer interview about the video game. They showed off some gameplay. It looks really good. It's not the Saints Row that I remember, but okay, I'll give it a shot. I'll see how it goes. It feels more like It feels more like another video game called Watch Dogs 2 for me. But I've been a fan of the series for a hot minute since the original one back on the Xbox 360. I'll rock with this one. Another game called Outbreak Island came out. Got announced there this weekend. That looks really good. King of Fighter 15, freaking 15. And that series has been going for like the last 35 years now. It's crazy. Call of Duty Vanguard, and my possible game of show, Marvel Midnight Suns.
Oh, absolutely.
That looked really good.
I texted JR when the trailer dropped on us, and I wasn't even looking for it, and it just popped up on my YouTube feed the other night, scrolling through some YouTube stuff, and stumbled upon it. But I didn't know anything about this, and the opinion I kind of got from it was, and real quick, we're to kind of keep you on pace. We're now at the airstrip where the family's trying to escape. For those who didn't know, real quick, go back to the movie just for a moment. I want to comment about Marvel's Midnight Suns. Is the young lady who plays young Natasha is Ever Anderson. And you're probably like, who am I supposed to know that name? Well, you might recognize her, but I know you definitely recognize her mother. Ever Anderson has appeared in such movies, like I said, as Black Widow, obviously playing young Natasha Romanoff. She's also played she'll be playing in the new Peter Pan and Wendy movie, but she also made her debut in 2016's Resident Evil: The Final Chapter. Reason being, mom's in the movie. She is the daughter of Mila Jovovich, and
as well as Wes Anderson,
Paul W. Anderson,
not what the
Paul W. Anderson.
Paul W. Sorry,
so
don't mean to get those two mixed up.
Thought that was kind of cool. And it's funny was when someone pointed that out to me about her, I was like, oh, okay, I see it. Yeah. And it kind of just like, it kind of dawned on me. And the same thing with my wife, who likes the Res Evil movies. She was just like, oh, okay, I kind of see it now. So I thought it was kind of interesting
a lot like her mom.
in this the airport scene real quick. They had, obviously Shield comes to their rescue, or tries to track down the family. And when I was at the premiere, one of the only few quote bigwigs that were in the audience was Clark Gregg, of course, played Phil Coulson from Shield, was in all the original Marvel Studio movies back before, or prior to the Avengers, and of course he was in the Avengers, and of course later he was in Captain Marvel. But I thought it was for a second there, I was like, oh, are we going to see a young Phil Coulson in this? But it was to no avail, because like I said, the timing of this movie doesn't match up of when canonically
he joins
Shield. So but nonetheless, moving right along, I didn't know much about Marvel Midnight Suns. I didn't know about I actually had to Google it, because when I watched the trailer again and read the background on the game, is you have Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Avengers, and in this particular game, as JR has, if you're watching the YouTube video, he has it as his background. The Avengers are made up of Captain America, Wolverine, Iron Man, Captain Marvel, and I believe that's it.
For now.
And they are teamed up with, who's the guy that's who's right behind your head? Oh, that's Robbie Reyes. Okay. They join forces after a battle with Doctor Strange, Nico from the Runaways, Blade, and Robbie Reyes, Ghost Rider, and of course Magic, who we know from the from X-Force, X-Force.
She's technically X-Force now. She's basically an X-Men, Uncanny X-Men. She was originally from New X-Men. Dang it, what's it called?
I'm sorry, New Mutants. She's New Mutants.
Yeah, she's New Mutants. She first came out New Mutants, and then
became X Factor, I think.
Yeah, X Factor. And so it's
but no, it looks killer, and the gameplay looked very similar. Or sorry, not the gameplay, but the graphics looked very similar. And I actually wasn't going to beat up too bad on the Avengers game from Equinox. The gameplay was a little suspect, but no, the graphics weren't horrible for that game, for the Avengers game. And I don't know if it's official, if it just so happens that they use Avenger roster members, but it kind of alluded to that the Avengers team, this story, this Midnight Suns story, takes place at the end or after the events of the Avengers video game that came out last year. I could be wrong. It could be totally unrelated, and it just so happens that members of the Avengers participate in this game. But this is different, though, Jared. This is not a typical first-person shooter. This is a little bit of an amalgamation of a bunch of different styles of gameplay. And we're not going to get official gameplay footage until September 1st.
Yeah.
But tell me a little bit. You watched, or at least did a little bit more background on this game.
I know the directors from this called the developers of this game is called Firaxis Games, and they're actually really well known, specifically I would want to say in this style of what the gameplay is going to look like in the last possibly 10 years, because they did the XCOM series, which is very turn-based. You can lose characters like instant death pretty easily. It is very much a tactical game for XCOM. They did Sid Meier's series. They also did Civilization series, and so it is definitely gonna be an interesting look where to have that type of style and the type of a turn-based system that is very well known to people who's played anything from Firaxis Games, specifically the XCOM series, where I think they're gonna basically have that type of style, right? Turn-based, very tactical, very much what we're used to when it's coming. It will be like it will be like if the developers of Halo, right? their next game would be another first-person shooter, right? Just
Yeah.
you immediately think that, right? The developers of the original Halo, Bungie Studios, would make another first-person shooter after they're done after they're done with Destiny, and so yeah, it's kind of the same thing. What I'm probably thinking of, where they're gonna have turn-based, very specialized, abilities. Again, it is Marvel. It is Marvel characters, and so I would like to see how that plays out. I wonder if they are gonna implement a like a not perma death, because you can't necessarily kill off Marvel characters. I think this game is gonna be still PG-13. Marvel Studios wants their characters to be full on PG-13, so we're not going to see Wolfie cut somebody and just like slice their heads off. You won't see any of that, but
Aw.
I know, I mean, we had that game years ago and that game was freaking awesome. But yeah, it will be very much turn-based. Will be very tactical type of game. I don't know, it's an interesting take. I know for me I'll enjoy it, but for the regular Marvel fan, I don't know if specifically around the ages of like, maybe anywhere from 10 to 22. I don't know if they'll get into it, this type of game. I mean, I don't think like the first gameplay we'll get from it will be a very telling tale to see if people would want to, get the game. But for me, I'm definitely gonna get the game because, like, one, I love Marvel and the characters they're doing. And I freaking love that they got Nico and Magic in this bitch. So I'm like, hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
I like that immediately sold me in the game. The second you see Magic in there, I'm like, all right, cool, I'm gonna get this game. And so that's cool. But can't wait for the first basically gameplay reveal of it. I want to see how they implemented their old ways of, like, what they do with XCOM, and see how they're doing that with basically superheroes. Right? XCOM was just military tactic shooter against aliens type of stuff, and so hopefully we'll see something of that here. But yeah, that was pretty cool. And the game, some of the games too that came out, that actually gave us release dates that were supposed to come out this year or still coming out this year that have been kind of pushed back. We got trailers for those ones. Sifu, which is a game I'm freaking excited about, we finally got a release date for that, as well as the trailer that came with it. Is releasing next year in February 22nd. Halo Infinite is releasing this year. They finally put a solid release date on that. It is going to be hitting the shelves December 8th. So that was interesting to me, that date, because like I think Halo is now gonna be 20 years, 15 years or something like that anniversary. I thought they would be on the anniversary date of it, which is November, but they're going for a December release date, maybe to do that push into, like, holiday sales. So that might be it. And the big one for me, for Horizon Forbidden West, is finally getting a solid release date. Is going to be releasing a week before Sifu, and it's going to be on February 18th, 2022. They had release dates for all those games. They had released trailers for all those games. So that was cool. Kevin, have you watched any other trailers for Gamescom?
I haven't, and I'm looking at the list. I know that Call of Duty Vanguard was something I had heard was coming down the pipeline and wanted to check it out.
It looked good.
I know that Forza I'm kind of interested in, because I know that Apple, I believe, is talking about bringing developing a game for I'm guessing, Forza Horizon, that's the driving game, correct?
Yeah, that is.
Okay. They're developing a game either with the developers of Forza or a similar game for the Apple TV. So they're we mentioned this on a couple of weeks ago or a couple months ago, talking about where Apple was going to go with Apple Arcade if they were going to step up to the plate and try to play with the big boys. And they're slowly but surely doing that. There was also talk that they're going to bring a version of Final Fantasy to that platform. So it'd be interesting to see Forza. I've always been a fan of driving games, especially not so much the arcade versions, but like I said, a little bit more detailed, kind of a storyline, drawn out driving game where you're not going to beat this in a weekend or something like that. Like I said, Call of Duty, I know everyone knows that style. Halo Infinite, I know we talked about that quite a few times. I think Xbox or Microsoft did a show earlier this year, and we talked about it. And we talked about it at E3. So
I will
be kind of curious to see that does hit that deadline of prior to Christmas this year.
I will definitely say Call of Duty looked very much like Call of Duty for me. You start it
they
initially
don't
start off
change much.
Yeah, but like the graphics were crazy. It looked very, very stellar. Like initially, you start off in a Russian unit. You are a Russian sniper, a woman, in this one.
Ooh.
And people were, yeah. The thing about it, right, is that you know me, I'm a stickler for detail, right? In Russia, right, there have been women who fought in World War II that were an elite class sniper unit, right?
Yeah.
I forgot the name of it, but yeah, they were an elite class sniper unit, and they're all women. So yeah, that is historically accurate. So you play this woman. Granted, what they were doing is very typical of Call of Duty. You just run and gun, do crazy shit. But like the initial scene where the Germans, just ransack this town that you were in currently, this Russian town, and you snipe. You're picking off. You're just picking off some targets from the roof, and then you go through this whole scene, and it shows you about, I think, a couple hours before the initial attack happened, man. And I gotta say, bro, like I'm pretty sure I have played games where you're under attack, right?
Yeah.
But the type of detail that went down when you see when you see your city bombed and you're under that bombardment, and that type of like realistic graphics kick in, I was kind of hooked, bro. I I didn't buy the last I didn't buy the last Call of Duty game. I think it was Black Ops 4, I
Something
think,
like
right?
that. Yeah.
Something like that, right? I'm like, I was kind of burnt out. I was kind of burnt out on Call of Duty, the story mode and stuff. I was more so into Warzone, or yeah, the BR, the Battle Royale that comes with it. I'm still playing
Yeah.
that. But like this one looks really good. Like for me, really, like it looked like it was just made for next gen consoles. I got a PS5. I'm pretty sure they are still putting it though on the last gen, which is kind of for me, but it looked good. It looked really good. So I'm definitely gonna give that a shot. But yeah, still though, possibly my game of the show is probably gonna be Midnight Sun. Midnight Sun looked really
Yeah, that
like,
as I mean, just everything looks good.
yeah,
Again, we're just a few days away as
yeah.
we record this from seeing actual gameplay. They promised us by
Mhm.
September 1st that Marvel will release gameplay for this title.
Mhm.
Real quick, kind of keep you up to date on where we're at in the movie. We now get introduced to the older version of Yelena Belova, and
Florence
she
Pugh.
is tracking down what looks like we know now are some ex-widows,
Yeah.
and they're trying to get a formula that actually apparently wipes out a brainwash
Yep.
that Dracoff puts on his widows. Now, of course, Dracoff, you're probably going, why do I know that name? Let's go back to Avengers when Loki is face to face with Natasha Romanoff, and they're talking about. Natasha goes, "There's red in my ledger, and I need to clear it out." And Loki says, "How? Just how much? Your ledger is dripping in blood." And goes through and says, "Dracoff's daughter." And I'm like, "Oh crap! Is she reference? Is she meaning Natasha, Dracoff's daughter?" And of course, we find out later in the movie a little foreshadowing that maybe
Yeah.
that's not what it is. But we know that Dracoff is the guy who heads up the
Yeah.
Red Room. Of course, he's played by Ray Winstone. You're probably going, well,
Yep.
why does that guy look familiar? Because he was in Indiana Jones 4. And that should be the only thing you remember about that movie because the rest of it was hot shit.
Oh man.
Hey, I want
I
to go back. Let's go back real quick,
Yeah.
JR.
Yeah.
One of
Well,
the
before you
guys
say
did.
before you do that, I thought the girl that she initially killed, right? The one that the widow that basically came to her senses, right? I
Yeah.
swore she to me, I checked it out to make sure, but I thought that was the doctor that we freaking forgot about in the Avengers ones, right?
Oh no.
I thought that was her, dude.
Oh,
It
you
looked a
thought it
lot
was
like her. The one that was wanted to flirt with
Dr.
Thor.
Cho.
Dr. Show, right?
No.
I thought that was her. But he's like, all right, cool. She has an antidote. It kind of makes sense, right? Type of
Yeah.
thing. And I found out like, no, it's not really her. So I'm like, damn it, I thought it was. But that actress, though, she's really cool. She is gonna be in some other stuff right now. She is a longtime stunts woman, and she has been in other shows. I think like Friends. Like she's gonna be in dang it. I think she was in Mortal Kombat when it was a YouTube Red or YouTube Live show. She was
Mhm.
Melina, and then she did some other stuff for stunts. So she's really cool though. She's awesome.
Real quick, what did you think of? And I thought it was so killer. Was the remake, the cover,
Mhm.
so to speak, of Nirvana's? I think it's Nirvana Smells Like Teen Spirit.
Yeah, it is.
Um, and I'm trying to find the artist real quick. I actually have it online.
Malia. Her name is Malia. I think it's the same girl,
Malia
right?
J.
It's the same.
Smells Like Teen
Malia J-
Spirit.
I swear I think it's the same girl that's covering this song that did for Midnight Sun. You know how they covered Sandman?
Oh shit, that's right.
I think it might be the same
I'll have
person.
to check it out. Well, we'll post
Yeah.
it. I'll post a link through Apple Music on our Facebook page for you guys to enjoy. Malia J's Smells Like Teen Spirit. It's a creepy, haunting version of the song that actually has been out for years. Let me look it out. It actually, you don't take that back. It was released. I'll tell you that it was released this year. But they actually had not. The story I had heard about Malia J said that she had been contacted by someone and said, "Hey, there's someone that wants to use your song for a movie. Do you mind?" And I guess they had to go to the proper channels because it's technically Nirvana's, but all this stuff. But she's like, "Yeah, I don't care. Just kind of like whatever." So her agent told her like, "Yeah, your song's going to be in this movie." And so when the movie was finally coming out, apparently she was sent a copy of the movie, not knowing what it was. And when she found out it was a Marvel movie and Black Widow being Scarlett's first standalone movie, she was like, "Holy crap!" And then saw how it was being used and was like, "Wow, like that's insane." And of course, if you haven't, if you've seen it, you know how it's used. It's the opening sequence. The title sequence is basically showing Dreykov going around the world and kidnapping little girls.
And just
trafficking and taking them to make them become widows.
Crazy, man. Oh, also, I did find the actual singer who did Enter Sandman. It's Alessia Cara. Never mind, but it sounds very similar.
They're very similar.
Very similar, but it's not the same person.
The other thing too is we're introduced another little Easter egg, so to speak. We're introduced to O.T. Fagbenio. I hope I said his name right. I probably didn't, but I apologize. Playing the character of Mason. Now, a lot of people thought that that Mason was a code name for okay, there's no character named Mason. Like, who is this? It's like a throw him off the trail, and that he was playing Taskmaster. Now we meet him, and he's actually in this movie is kind of like he's a guy that can get you stuff. Kind of, he's like Red from Shawshank Redemption. But Mason actually is a real character. I think he's called what, Agent Mason or something. He has a name. He is the son of the Tinkerer, and the Tinkerer, of course, we know is also in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's the guy who works with oh my gosh, not the Falcon. What's the other bird name? From Spider-Man Homecoming.
Vulture.
So the guy who's like he's got the little hat on, the glasses, kind of the nerdy guy, and wants to do that high altitude suit. That is the Tinkerer in the comic books. That's the MCU version, and in the comic books, those two are father and son. Though I don't think they're going to draw a correlation between those two in the movies, but it is kind of cool to see Mason in it, and he plays exactly what he's supposed to do. He's a guy that can get things. Now we're at the point where we do get to see the Taskmaster for the first time. I gotta say, I'm pretty happy with how they made Taskmaster. I was a little concerned when the first time we see the character that they plug in to the back of the head, and a lot of people, including my wife, thought that the character was a android, was kind of like an Ultron style character, but it's not the case. But it is. It's a controversial character. If you haven't seen the movie, you probably know why. But it is a version of the character that has been seen in the comic books before. So, albeit a one-off, but they did pretty good with the character. Studies all of the heroes and villains battle tactics, and was one step ahead of everybody.
It was it was interesting to take because like I was expecting to see very much comic book Taskmaster, freaking skull mask, white I think he wears a blue robe or is a white robe with like
Yeah.
your typical gear outfit where he's able to do perfect mimicry of any movement. It's somewhat similar to that one, but then considering that we're in the confines of MCU, like that's not necessarily the Taskmaster that is very much widely loved. I can't say loved, but more so like widely respected within the within Marvel comics. He's very much like Deathstroke in that sense, right? I think Taskmaster is, I guess, one of the more honest copies of Deathstroke, while Deadpool was just the trope of Deathstroke. So over the years, I mean, initially when he who will not be named initially made that Deadpool, he was supposed to be just a full-on ripoff, but over the years he became his own character, so it was cool. But yeah, I'm just gonna spoil it, right? Should we just spoil it?
Nah, not yet.
We'll because like the person who plays Taskmaster was an interesting point of contention for me, because you see, how do I say it without actually saying it?
Pronouns, Val.
No, not just that. Just more so timeline for me. Timeline, considering the age difference, I guess. Right, in a couple ways, but we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yeah.
Overall, the the initial beginning scenes was cute. It was cute. I see, Nat with blue hair growing up. It's funny. I've seen this meme a lot in the Twitterverse, as well as like MCU forums and stuff like that. Like, oh yeah, this movie is definitely fake. They want to live in Ohio. Right, type of stuff. Like, who'd want to live in Ohio type of memes, right? I'm like bro, they were born in Russia. They probably had some horrible freaking things, so the things that they've gone through made Ohio look like heaven. So that should be the type of that should be the type of understanding that we have. Like, Ohio for us Americans look pretty bad, but to basically Russian immigrants that want to escape that and has seen he has seen this level of America for at least a couple years. They view that as like fucking heaven on earth. So again, perspective. Overall, man, it was great. Just go ahead.
What we know is that through Dreykov that he has splinter cells throughout the world, placing widows. We learn that throughout the movie. But in this particular case, he has the Belovas or whatever, the family, so to speak.
Yeah.
Sergey, and then my goodness, I can't think of her name now. What Rachel Weisz plays.
Oh yeah.
Well, you have Natasha, Yelena, Alexei, and Melina all live in Ohio, like JR said. And obviously, where would you want to live if you're going to be a covert splinter cell? Plus, too, we know now that Alexei in the movie is hired by Shield to be, I think, like a decoder or something like that, and he steals top secret information about Shield. So he gets placed wherever Shield puts him. So everyone says, like, why would you go to Ohio? You go wherever the freaking your boss tells you, especially when you're trying to be a covert spy. Overall, the movie does play for those who don't know, and have been living under a rock for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 years. Black Widow takes place between Civil War and Infinity War, with, of course, flashback scenes. Like we said before, you had the beginning of the movie took place in the actually was the late 80s, and because there, we know that the events of Captain Marvel takes place in 1993.
That's right.
But and then of course we see other kind of things pop up. We know that Natasha, she works for the KGB. She works for the Red Room. as a spy, and then says, I said enough's enough, and converts and becomes a member of Shield. She's recruited by Nicolas Cage, by Nick Fury.
Yeah.
By Nick Fury. Okay, that'd be interesting if Nick Cage played Nick Fury. No, she gets recruited by Nick Fury and immediately is partnered up with Clint Barton. We do in this movie find out what happens in Budapest, or as she likes to call it, Budapest. We don't get. I don't think we still get. I mean, not giving away too much. We still don't get the full on Budapest backstory that I think that we wanted. I think they hyped it up so much that the Clinton Barton, Natasha Romanoff saga, that this was kind of their crown jewel. No, it's a big event that does take place, but I think they kind of hyped it up. Of course, we see the sisters meet up. We're at the point where they actually meet up in Budapest.
Was it a quick question? Was it in the late 80s? Because I swore it was 1995.
Well, that would make a 9-year-old. That's what that's where it doesn't match up, because that Natasha is well into her 20s in like the early 2000s. So I'm trying to find the timeline. I'm trying to find the timeline. So
because it should be 1990, like mid 1990. Because like again, how would you have Smell Like Teen Spirit playing in 1980 something, or as well as like. Granted,
the song came out in like 19. I don't know. It came out in 90. No, but the I mean, it's not in the movie. It's just in the it's in the
the thing. Yeah, I just feel like it should be around the 1990s, because like trying to do some type of backlog. You're talking about the event, right? The event in which Natasha defects, right?
Well, the very beginning of the movie where the family flees Ohio. I'm trying to find where that takes place. But nonetheless, we're at the point now where, like I said, where they meet up in Budapest, of all places, and we're finding out more about why Yelena and Natasha don't talk, and we learn about where each other have been, and yada yada yada. So
it's also kind of like what scene did I want to go see? There was a pivotal scene where initially when they do the jump forward into net during the events, the fallout after Civil War, we do see Ross try to track her down. She's been on the run ever since. I gotta say, man, the cinematography, specifically in the very first couple of scenes where it did a semi flash forward where she's in that town, is freaking beautiful. I have to say, like when they were in the ferry, that wide shot with the mountains in the background and the constant movement, man. And
92. It was 92, by the way.
92. Okay.
So we were, you were close.
Yeah, pretty close. And so like, and here's one of my problems first with the movie, because I know we're going into the scenes where Nat and Yelena, they meet up. They have their first fight. They do constant bickering, which is great, cool. They're trying to get the sister motif going on, and then you have the widows track them down, because they have at that point Yelena has defected because. Let me go back to this point. I swore when she was first initially infected with the antidote, I swore it had something to do with Scarlet Witch, because it looked like a hex type of thing.
They don't ever really
say anything. They don't
really kind of explain it. They just say that part of their that was the thing and it was actually used by the Russian government back in the 70s. Was they used a version of like digital, not digital, I guess, but like visual hypnosis, so to speak. And they do, quote unquote, for a lack of better term, get brainwashed. And they kind of hinted that in the opening sequence where they're using the Smell Like Teen Spirit song, is them watching like Disney cartoons and drinking Kool-Aid, not figuratively, but literally. And they're just watching Disney cartoons, old Disney cartoons
Huh.
from the 1940s, 1950s. But that's how they would put subliminal messages behind.
Mhm.
And it's an old technique. I mean, you can look it up how they used to just hide images, little flashes of images in cartoons and stuff like that to
Yeah.
kind of train your mind to do things. And so I think that over a period of time in the Red Room, and granted, again, like I said, you're dealing with um movie magic, movie
Yeah.
logic, Marvel logic. And yeah, that it does. There is also they have stuff implanted in them. They have
Yeah.
they've had things done to them.
Yeah. Now I
Borderline
would just
super soldier outside of
yeah.
having the serum. So yeah, I thought it
I
was too. It
just
seemed
I
very
thought
similar,
it
like
was yeah.
Facts.
Because yeah, the effect going into it, right? And specifically when like they show her eyes, right?
Yeah.
After the antidote took place, it looked very similar to that of like to that of freaking Wanda doing her mind takeover or her mind stuff, I guess, right? To persuade people to do whatever she wants to do. I thought that was it, right? And then that was the whole that I guess it was not it, it was just full on antidote toxin for it.
But
And
Jr. In Sokovia, where
yeah,
oh my gosh, oh, what are they called? What's Scarlet Witch's real name?
Wanda,
Maximoff. Where the
Maximoff, yeah,
Maximoffs were from were for Sokovia. Sokovia is considered to be an Eastern European,
yeah,
Russian, so to speak, country.
yeah,
So who's to say that where Natasha, or sorry, not Natasha, where
Wanda,
Wanda was held in Sokovia, under the power of Hydra, under Doctor under
what's his name? Yeah,
not Baron Zemo, Baron
no, no,
Strucker,
yeah,
held by Strucker. That maybe that technology he'd already used, and maybe he was, who knows, maybe within the Marvel canon, maybe you're onto something. Maybe in the MCU canon,
yeah.
that Dracoff and Strucker worked together. That would, holy crap, that would have been
I mean,
who
it
knows.
looked, yeah, I possibly, again, we're looking at this movie where like it was kind of done, but you definitely see that COVID did affect the movie to a certain extent in the sense of like editing, in the sense of like, I feel like there could have been more stuff put in. Like it's a 2 hour movie, but it feels like it wasn't really done. That type of feeling, right? Like it rushed in some parts and slowed down other parts that I feel like didn't need to. I thought that was just, just editing. But yeah, it felt kind of like lopsided in a certain sense for me. Specifically when it gives you like these tidbits where yeah, I was trained to think because of the Marvel movie that this effect of the toxins going into Yelena the first time, or technically the only time, was very much similar to when Wanda did her powers. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But going on towards going back to it, you see that the sisters, quote unquote sisters, are being chased by the widows, and that yeah, it looks great. I mean, Budapest looks good. Them going taking I guess a chimney tower, only to be chased by one of them, by one of the widows, right? And then I guess when the widow falls down, like I think 4 stories or some crazy stuff like that, she falls down and like just falls flat on the pavement, wet pavement, and then they really want to nail this home of that Natasha can take a freaking beating, a horrid beating. Like she also didn't make they went from this huge tower, this huge pipe tower into like a window, and then Yelena made it because she went through the window, but Nat barely hung on, and then she fell down like 4 stories, hitting like ledges and stuff. Right? They
Yeah.
really want to hammer around the point that yeah, this is even though that of course she's peak human in this certain sense, she is still kind of like a cut above the
She's a
other
superhero.
widows. Superhero, yes, but like not superhuman, if that makes any
No.
sense. So
Real
yeah.
quick, going to the doing a little research, Marvel Wiki has
Uh-huh.
the Romanoff parent killed in 1999 in storylines. That Pietro and Wanda were born in 1989. Their parents were killed when the kids were 10, which would put it in 1999,
Yeah.
which would be okay, more or less around the time, because if we're seeing Natasha approximately in that range.
Yeah.
Let's just say what it is. Natasha's probably right around maybe 10 years old
Yeah.
in that. So let's just say that, okay, we know that she is kidnapped in 1992.
Mhm.
So she's 10 there. And who's to say that maybe Strucker did? Who knows? Strucker did maybe give some powers to Dreykov.
To
Who
Nat,
knows?
sure. It's the possibility. Like it's, I feel like that could have been a storyline that I was never, you know, brought open. Like, granted, just kind of follow this rabbit hole a little bit farther. We know that that twins didn't get their powers until what the twins didn't get their powers until after Avengers 1, basically, right? It was still in that during that time frame. They were both much older, and so that it's a possibility. We don't know. I was hoping that they would somewhat say some type of reference to it because of all the other reference they made already to the previous movies. But hey, man, it's fine. What I will say, I think this is my end. What I will say, what looks bad for me is the CG, because I bought the 4K UHD version
Yeah.
and I see everything, and I definitely can tell what points are CGI, because like initially when when they're in Budapest, they get away from the widows, right? And Taskmaster is chasing after them with that, the API or APC,
Yeah.
right? You easily tell it's fake,
Yeah,
easily.
that was probably one of my more disappointing scenes
Yeah,
was when you see him kind of skidding around in the
yeah,
in his tank.
yeah,
How much attention to detail that Marvel has done. That was a very lazy um
yeah. I
entrance
I
to a
I
chase scene. It was ended up
yeah.
being badass, but it
It
was
was
still
fine.
lazily done.
It was very much like, I'm pretty sure those who just watched it like on just regular 1080p or whatever have you, right? It
No,
looks good.
I know exactly what you're talking about. It looks,
Okay.
you noticed it on the big screen. I noticed it, on Disney Plus.
Yeah. Okay.
I will say, to add some context, Natasha was born in, according to Marvel Wiki, was
Mhm.
born in December of 1984, which would put her at 8 in 1992,
Yeah.
making her,
2 years
in
older should be
99 would put her at about what, 15.
ish. But the event that happened should have been what, 2005?
What's that? What event?
The event which she was able to
To prove
leave. Yeah, to
well, that
everybody.
which just happened, by the way.
Yeah.
The event that JR is talking about is to prove her loyalty to
Shield.
Shield. She has to separate herself from the Red Room. That way, and meaning she had to kill
Yeah.
Dreykov, and
Yep.
so he goes to kill Dreykov, but in the process, Natasha also kills Dreykov's daughter, and we find out
Yeah.
that Dreykov's daughter was not a moniker that Natasha had. It's an actual biological daughter
Daughter.
that
Yeah.
Dreykov has, and he kills.
Yeah.
Natasha kills both of them in a massive explosion, and then we find out too, her and Clint, before they can escape Budapest, hides out in a air duct in a
Like 2 days. Yeah.
a subway tunnel,
Yeah.
trying to dodge basically widows. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I was trying to think. I was just trying to do, like, I love this wiki page. Just like so helpful.
Yeah.
Um,
It's yeah that we go to that. I will say too that I'm pretty sure one of the other reasons too that some of the CGI looks pretty bad is, one, again, I would think that CGI and all the other stuff, they come last.
yeah,
Like, they all come last, right? So like, again, this was during the time right smack dab during COVID. So I'm thinking, a lot of stuff you notice to happen. I'm pretty sure the CG team that they usually get their work done from probably outsourced that type of outsourced their workout, and then they probably did it from home type of thing, right? So a lot of the things were kind of like not really polished around the edges type of thing. So again, that is a possibility. It's just that it was super noticeable, like the cars movement where they were going down, where they were going from bikes to car. I gotta say, the actual like stunts in there was amazing.
Oh
Really,
yeah,
really good.
yeah.
It's like that. You see these girls get tossed around like freaking rag dolls, like going from like slamming the brakes on, hitting like this curb. They fly out. They tumble across a car. They hold up this guy with the BMW again, right? BMW obviously put some money into this movie because if you see like at least 3 or 4 of those cars get beat the hell up and used, and so hey, BMW, good job. Thanks for funding the movie to a certain extent.
I will
So,
say too, it's kind of funny. I'm looking at this fandom Marvel Cinematic Universe wiki page. Of course, they like I said they have it listed: date of birth December 3rd, 1984, date of death August 2014.
ugh.
But it's funny is technically she died in 2014 because she traveled back in time from 2023 to go to the basically to Morag, and then eventually
Yeah,
to
die there.
the place of the Soul Stone. So
How old
she,
was she? How old was she have been? How old was
well,
she actually in 2014? But then how old was she when she traveled back to 2014?
let's
Was
do
it?
a little math here, Kevin, and I'm not very good at it
She's
because I'm
because she was 9 in 2000 and no in 1995. 9, right?
she would have turned. It depends on when the events of Avengers Endgame takes place,
Yeah.
but had it taken place after December 3rd of 2023, let's just assume
Mm.
she's 38 or 39 years old in 2023.
Yeah.
That's of
Mm.
course for those people going like, why is Kevin mentioning 2023? 2023
5 years past.
is when Endgame takes place.
Yeah.
Infinity War takes place in 2018,
2018.
and of course they say 5 years later. They say it in the movie. So the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as we know it right now, Phase 4, anything that takes place after the events, the conclusion of Avengers Endgame takes place in 2023 and beyond. So
Yeah.
Spider-Man Spider-Man Far From Home took place like it did in the summer.
Yeah.
Would have taken place, I think, summer of 2023. So we know that the events of Endgame probably take place in the spring of 2023, which means that Natasha would have been actually 38, according to Wiki. I know we're going
Yeah.
down the nerd hole big time.
But hey,
They're
that's
talking
what your that's
right
what
now.
your list does for.
This is kind of a cool scene where the sisters are kind of getting to kind of rekindle their family, their relationship. Also, I thought it was kind of fun is one of the best running gags in the movie is the pose. Of course, we know Natasha all the way since Iron Man 2 does that kind of long-legged split
her
move.
version of the Superman pose, version of the superhero pose, basically.
But she's been doing that. She's done that in the comic book. That's a long-standing Black Widow pose, and they've made it more prominent in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Yelena calls her out of it, and she goes, "Oh, you're a poser," and just calls her a poser the whole movie. It's hilarious. Real quick, diving back away from Black Widow real quick, talking about Marvel Studios. We broke down, and you can find the link. We'll put it in the end of our video, the link to our Spider-Man No Way Home trailer breakdown, which by the way has completely obliterated the internet. I think it's actually now been viewed more times than the Endgame and Infinity War trailer.
It passed I think Endgame for #1 spot for a trailer that released in 24 hours. So they took that spot.
It's insane. So we broke that down. But one trailer we did not get to break down is Marvel Studios' The Eternals final trailer. Of course, that one was massive, and I want to talk a little bit about it. We're not going to do a full breakdown, but real quick, some of the bullet points that we took away from this. Number one, you get to see Kit Harington's character talk about why didn't the Eternals get involved with Thanos, and of course we find out from Gemma Chan's character they were instructed not to unless the Deviants got involved, and they are like, well, who told you? And we find out it's a Celestial. It's one of the big Celestials. And this is the first time we have seen a character of this magnitude. This is Galactus level character. Galactus, of course, is a herald. No, not a
Yep.
herald. Is a
No. He's
he's not a
yeah,
celestial.
He's
not a celestial. He's not a Titan.
it's I think he is a celestial, man.
Maybe he is. We'll do really.
It's a weird, yeah. It's
Galactus kind of falls in a weird, yeah. He's the eater of worlds, basically. But people got a little upset with with Marvel Studios logic on this, because canonically in the comic books, Thanos is half deviant. He is half Titan, half deviant. And so, but we've never heard of what his true parentage is in the movies. We just know that he is a Titan. He is from the planet Titan. He is a Titan. He is the Mad Titan. And that's pretty much all we know about him. We don't know who his parents were. Well, take that back. When Gamora and Thanos go to the planet with the Soul Stone, and you see Red Skull, Thanos, son of blah 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 blah, and Gamora's daughter of blah blah blah.
Yeah.
Do we hear Thanos's parents in that line? I'll have to go back and listen to that, but
that's a different one. They do reveal who his parents were in the comics, of course, but like it's just definitely the MCU logic where like it's whatever.
And who knows? Maybe Thanos, we will find out in the movie. But I think it was kind of a cool.
Maybe not. Yeah. Just more so. Yeah, the Eternals, man. That was a good freaking thing. They finally show off one of the Supermen of Marvel, right? They showed off. I forgot his name, dude, but yeah, he's a Richard Maddox character. He's Maddox character. Looks good. I gotta say, it looks good. Got the full on I-beam going on. Got the full on flying everywhere. Got the super strength. Very typical of your Superman stats. I gotta say, I was super hyped. The second they brought out Celestial, I'm like, all right, now we're playing the big kid zone type of stuff, right? Before you thought you were playing the big kid zone when you had Thanos. Nah, now homie, the Celestials are something to be feared, because these are the literal ones where they were there since the beginning of creation type of stuff, right? So yeah, these are the if there was a literal gods of Marvel, these will be them. And it's multiple Celestial too. So yeah, man, we are definitely getting into super high level territory here. Like I thought we were before with Thanos and the Infinity Gauntlet. Nah, Celestial's coming in. We got Kang the Conqueror coming in. We got a bunch of like super high level characters that are just gonna really blow up the doors and hopefully blow up some crazy multi-level, multi-universe level type of threats, man. So it's gonna be insane. It is gonna be insane. The amount of escalation is gonna be crazy in this, man.
Did a little research. The line from Infinity War was Thanos, son of Alars, and then turns to Gamora and says, Gamora, daughter of Thanos, which is when it was at that moment, because I guess I forgot about this, was Thanos looks all surprised that the Red Skull says it, because the Red Skull can read your soul.
Yeah.
And I think that at that moment, Gamora always knew that Thanos was her father, and had just kind of had that embedded in her brain. But Alars, I did a little look. Canonically, according to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Alars is Thanos' father and is Titan. He is a member of the Titan race, but no mention of Thanos' mother. So who knows? We don't know what direction they're going to go. Maybe that's an answer we do get in the Eternals. There was talk too, Jared, in this movie, and of course, right now we're seeing Alexei breaking out of the Russian jail in Siberia. But maybe we'll see Thanos referenced in the Eternals, because we are going to see from the moment that the Eternals land on Earth to current time, which is post Endgame. So maybe we'll find out about that, and maybe that will become canon. But as of right now, it's assumed that Thanos is full Titan and was not a deviant like he is in the comic book. What were some other cool things from the trailer that you liked? I loved how clean just this the cinematography looks absolutely stellar. And
Mm.
I know Kevin Feige has almost kind of boldly said that this could be Marvel's best chance at winning Best Picture from the
Mm.
Academy Awards. And of course, they have the Oscar award-winning director
Yeah.
on their side. So,
Yeah. I mean, from the little things we've seen, yeah, cinematography has always been, I forgot the director's name, man, but it's always been like,
oh my
has
gosh, what's
always
her
been
name? She
her
just won. Yeah, she just
forte.
won.
She just won everything. Like, now that I've seen some of her stuff, man, now that I've seen some of like the way that she frames and blocks, and the way she blocks her actors to the point where, like, yeah, the cinematography really just envelops the whole screen. Just like
Chloe's out.
Chloe's out, yeah, like that initial scene where they were all at the first time when they're all at when all of the Eternals were together, right, and they're in that hut, and how it just kind of pans out, and like it features everything, even those type of scenes where like it features a lot of like the table, everybody else there has a view, it features like the food, it features the everything, that it looked beautiful, it looked really freaking beautiful. And I gotta say, Marvel really picked up on these directors, bro. I know we've said it multiple times before, man, but like just constantly good choices from them. But overall, yeah, I just can't wait. I cannot wait for this film specifically, because I want to see, yeah, this whole thing of can't interfere type with Destiny type of thing.
Yeah,
Can't
I want to see
interfere.
how that plays out.
Yeah, because I understand, I get it. You know, I think I made this argument before where you can't interfere with nature, right? Like the same, like how in our essence, right? We always say as humans, like, hey man, nature always finds a way, whatever, and nature will, you can't interfere with with the the what do you call it? The cycle of nature,
Yeah.
right? You're not gonna save a freaking antelope from a lion, right?
Yeah.
And in this essence, the antelope was us and the lion was Thanos. So I get it. It's cool. It's very much a type of um ethical stance that the Eternals were taking. Like, they couldn't do anything. They can't do anything until these deviants come about, right? Okay, now they come about. What gets them to the point where they have to step in? Is it necessarily deviants, or is it something else? Because yeah, they've been around for thousands of years. They've been around. They've been living amongst civilizations for thousands of years, possibly being some of the gods of these civilizations that were prophesied in their old books. I think Gilgamesh might have been Gilgamesh, right? So it's just one of those things where, like, I cannot wait how they're going to tie in the Eternals into the MCU, and how that is going to be referenced with, I guess, the history of the Earth to that point, man. I just super excited. I'm hoping that everyone gets a fair shot. It's a huge cast. We've said about before, and I don't know how they're gonna, make everyone be happy about it, because initially it's gonna be a Richard Madden film, right? Because he's there, but you also have Salma Hayek, and you also have freaking Angelina Jolie. You gotta keep everybody happy.
And you have Kit Harington too. I mean,
Dane
Whitman is definitely, I think, going to be playing a more significant role going forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. We know that, of course, Dane Whitman is the Black Knight, and we have already seen at least a reference to the Black Knight in What If Peggy Carter became the first Avenger. What if Captain Carter became the first Avenger? When she takes on the shield with the Union Jack, and of course grabs a sword, whereas in the comic book, Captain Carter does more of a there's been a version of Captain Carter in the comic books. I think she had the shield, but she also had a gun. We know that Captain Britain has a shield and a gun, but Black Knight does a sword and a shield.
It's namely just a sword. Well, yeah, it's also too, but like, well, I keep on saying this, man. Like, how is this film gonna be anything under 2.5 hours? You have a huge cast, man.
They don't have a runtime on the movie yet. The me see. I'm looking through. Yeah, nothing yet.
Mm.
Eternals does release on November 5th of this
Yep.
year. Of course,
Mhm.
um Shang-Chi in about a week, I think.
Yep.
Um let's see, official release date is the 3rd. So it's this coming Friday as we release this. And it is still climbing or still holding steady rather the
Mm.
Rotten Tomatoes charts in the 90s. Um, I know that the Metascore on IMDb has it in the 70s, but
Yep.
I think Rotten Tomatoes still had it solidly in the low 90s, about like
Mm.
92, and it was like the number 5 highest rated Marvel movie so far. But I know I'm really looking forward to it. By the way, sidebar on Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, Disney may have shown their hand this past week. The first Marvel one shot being officially released on Disney Plus, separately from its actual theatrical release. Now, what is a one shot? A one shot is a short
Mm.
produced by Marvel Studios. Now, of course, a lot of the Academy Awards has a category for best
One
live
shots.
action short.
Yeah.
And one shots in the comic books are exactly what they are. They're a one-off storyline. They don't go past one issue.
Unless they do good enough. Unless they do
What's
good
that?
enough. Unless they're good enough.
Unless
Like
they're gonna,
there's been a
but a one shot
yeah.
is designed to be exactly what it is. It's a one
Yeah.
off. There's no matter of fact, there was a series of books like What If. There was a series
Mm.
called Marvel One Shots. They've
Yeah.
said right there this was gonna be it. This was a one shot. And Marvel Studios did a clever job at adding one shots to their home video releases that kind of told little niche stories
Mm.
about the Marvel Cinematic Universe with side stories. Of course, there was one on the what was it? Oh, the oh, I can't think of it. On the Road to New Mexico was one. Of course, telling the story of um, an incident where Agent Coulson was going from Malibu to New Mexico to see the incident which led to Thor, and of course he
Yep.
thwarts a convenience store robbery. Simple little story, just to kind of expands.
Yep. So what was the tell for what Marvel did?
Marvel, or at least Disney Plus released Marvel Studios one shot, All Hail the King. Of course, it stars Sir Bean Kingsley as Trevor Slattery, aka the Mandarin from Iron Man 3. Of course, it also features a Sam Rockwell cameo playing
Mm.
Justin Hammer again. Of course, we hadn't
Yeah.
seen him since Iron Man 2. But
Yep.
they show their hand because in the premise of the one shot, you should go watch it. It's a really clever, probably one of the better one shots they did. Was Trevor is being interviewed for a documentary based on his kind of new fame of being this internet darling, so to speak. He's interviewed
Yeah.
by this guy. Long story short, he's a undercover operative for the Ten Rings, and he's quote taking you back to the person whose name you stole. And so it's kind of showing their hand. Why would they put this out there? Well, because we are going to get the real Mandarin here in just a couple of days. And there is a rumor that Sir Ben Kingsley is in the movie. We know he was seen at the premiere. He is listed on
Yep.
IMDb, but there has been no trailers showing his existence. We don't know what his fate is, but supposedly Trevor Slattery does make an appearance in Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. I have a feeling, JR, that Sir Ben Kingsley doesn't make it to the end of the movie. So
he's probably dead in the first 15 minutes.
So we will find out about that. At this point now in the movie where we're at Black Widow, we've seen Alexei, of course, played brilliantly by oh my gosh, I can't think of his name.
David Harbour.
David Harbour, rather.
Yeah.
So good. By the way, to kind of shill for another video podcast, go check out Hot Ones on YouTube. Sean Evans interviews David Harbour, and it's such a good interview. And
Yeah.
his reaction to the hot wings is pretty impressive. But he's
Yeah.
a very intelligent guy and very
Absolutely.
fun and informed and not overly.
He's freaking awesome. I
He
always
doesn't
loved him.
He's not too pretentious, but he comes across as educated and seasoned and stuff. So very, very good. And I'll be honest, I'm one of the few people on planet Earth who's never seen Stranger Things.
I was going to bring him up.
Episodes.
How dare you? I freaking love him. He's been really there. If you haven't seen Stranger Things, I'm pretty sure there was this meme going around a couple years ago where the cast Stranger Things were on MTV, the MTV Awards, I think, right? The video awards, and they brought out the whole cast of Stranger Things because they won an award for something. And then Dave Harbour goes on a tangent, an amazing tangent about, like, I think it was wanting to fight for your votes or something like that. It was a very politicized speech. But then we had I forgot her name.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah, I forgot her name now. Oh my gosh, I gotta find her name. But like, she was there too, and she was like very like, she didn't know where the conversation was going, and I freaking loved it, dude. I love both of them way more because of it, because like they were just so genuine, and like it was. David Harbour is really freaking cool. I loved him he was in Suicide Squad, he was in Sleepless, he was in Human Affairs, he was in
Winona Ryder is who you're thinking of.
Winona Ryder, thank you very much. He was in the Newsroom, which I fucking loved him for that. He was one of the anchors for the Newsroom. I totally forgot about it. Yeah, he was. I totally forgot.
I forgot what he was in Suicide Squad. Okay, there he is.
Yeah,
he was like a senator or something like that.
He's in Stranger Things, which is interesting to me because from where I left off, I thought it was different, but supposedly he's still in Stranger Things. He's also been in a number of other things. He's gonna be in Star. I totally forgot about this, dude. We gotta talk about this during this. He's gonna be in Star Wars Visions.
Oh, the animation.
The anime adapted versions of Star Wars to be one-offs, basically one-offs in their own control story by a bunch of Japanese animation studios. Yeah. Good freaking God, I saw the trailer for that. It looks fucking amazing. I cannot wait, man. Give Dave Filoni everything. Let this man control everything in Star Wars. At this point. Let him do whatever. Because when Dave Filoni said, "Hey, I want Star Wars but anime." Yeah, that sounds like a great fucking idea. Let's do that. And he did it, and they're doing it right now. And oh, good God, it looks so good. I freaking love that. I cannot wait for it. I hope they do more. I hope they do a full-on like length animated movie with Star Wars with some of this shit that I'm saying, man. It looks beautiful, man. Star Wars is gonna come out. Star Wars Vision is gonna come out, I think, the end of this year, 2021. September. No, it comes out September 22nd, next month.
As I say, I think it comes out this fall. So,
yes, go. Be amazing.
Yeah, it looks pretty cool. And I can't stress enough, if you don't know a lot about Dave Filoni and what he means to the greater Star Wars universe, in his role as one of the co-producers and directors of The Mandalorian, go and check Disney Galleries, Star Wars, the Mandalorian seasons 1 and season 2. They do a full detailed breakdown of season 1 of The Mandalorian. They do a director's roundtable. They do a cast roundtable.
Bro, I have to say this again. I had to freaking say this. There's been a lot of newer fans of Star Wars, right, that for some dumb reason hate Dave Filoni.
What?
Yeah.
Who?
Because there's, again, the Twitterverse and social media. They're saying these dumb bullshit like, oh my gosh, we're gonna have, why is Luke's back? Like basically newer fans that only know the recent trilogies, right? And we have Dave Filoni, who has been working on Star Wars for the better part of like nearly freaking 20 years now.
Yeah.
Right? Since Clone Wars, original Clone Wars, man, he's been in it like straight throughout, right? Hey, motherfuckers, You know Ahsoka Tano? If
Created him.
it's if it wasn't for Dave Filoni, Ahsoka Tano wouldn't exist.
Nope.
You know, the Night Watch, right? Those badass fucking warriors led by a fucking awesome woman, Mandalorian woman. For her name escapes me right now, dude. Yeah, if it wasn't Dave Filoni, that would never fucking happen. Yeah, it's not fan service, my guy. Well, it kind of is fan service, but at the same time, it's stories, a continuation of a story that's been told 20 years ago. Well, technically 10 years ago at this point, because the Night Watch arc came in 2013, 2012, some of that. But yeah, we're going to see that in live action. We're going to see all my fucking favorite characters. I'm hoping we see Ezra. I'm hoping we have a continuation of everything else. And if it wasn't for Dave fucking Filoni writing this goddamn ship, writing it, we would not have anywhere near the amount of freaking like Star Wars stuff that's good and coming out now. I'm hoping they give him just the next trilogy or whatever, or if he has his hands on the trilogy and just have him do whatever the fuck it is. Again, we don't know what's going to happen, because the new guy in charge is looking at what's her name and saying, you just take over again. And so we'll see how that goes. But overall, for people who think Dave Filoni is just a freaking, nostalgia written nerd who's just some white dude who wants to go back to good old days, if it wasn't for him, Ahsoka Tano would not be here today.
It's funny in
know
the
your history.
Again, go back and watch the documentary I was just talking about, Disney Galleries, and watch season 2, episode 2, the Mandalorian season 2 season finale breakdown, and they talk about the Luke Skywalker deal, and in it they oh my goodness, they talk about, Dave Filoni specifically talks about how he kind of admits to the about the fans kind of hating on him about why you bring Luke Skywalker back, blah, blah, blah. And he does kind of reference that, and they also were talking about, like, who could train Grogu. If you, again, spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, season 2 of The Mandalorian, he talks about who could train Grogu, and he goes, there's no one better that should train him than Luke Skywalker. Mm-hmm. And they were talking about getting the scene right, and talking about Luke's, when he attacks the starship, and his moves as a master of the lightsaber, that it's supposed to be a little bit, herky jerky a little bit, because I guess people were complaining, like, oh my gosh, it looked so like he almost like it was the first time he picked up a lightsaber. But look at Ahsoka, and she's so, people don't realize, listen up, motherfuckers, Ahsoka is technically Luke's senior. Yeah, Ahsoka is older than Luke Skywalker, and at the time of The Mandalorian, we're talking just a few years, if not a few months, since the second Death Star was destroyed. Yeah. And Luke is only a few years. I think we went over this, and go back and check out our Star Wars saga. We have a playlist on our YouTube channel. And we break down about how old Luke is when he blows up the Death Star at the end of Return of the Jedi, basically.
Yeah. So, technically, if you want to get down to it, technically, if Luke was part of the Jedi Academy or Jedi Council, right, he would still be a Jedi Knight. He wouldn't be a Jedi Master. No, just because of like his age, his youth, how fast it was since Return of the Jedi, right? It's so, because like it's supposed to be around somewhere between 3 to 5 years, right? From Return of the Jedi to the end of Mandalorian season 2. Yeah, he's still technically a Jedi Knight, but he's progressed so fast that he should be seen as the strongest Jedi in the galaxy, aside of Ahsoka Tano, because she renounces the Jedi thinking. Because again, for those who haven't freaking noticed, the Jedi was a systemic foundation built on war at that time. Yeah. So hello. Have you not been listening? If we didn't have Dave Filoni, we wouldn't have such a freaking awesome character like Ahsoka Tano, who is a fucking Ronin. Come on.
Yeah.
So aside from that, what part are we on the movie right now, my guy?
Right now, we're at the part where the Belovas or whatever, where the family's all together on the farm,
Oh, that one.
and they're kind of coming together. We see Alexei wearing his costume as the
the red
fucking what's
something.
his name?
I forgot his name too, but yeah, I gotta say this is part of the film I had a problem with. Like they really try to hammer down for me. They really try to hammer down this idea of family.
Yeah, the family thing, which
like,
I get.
Yeah,
I mean, technically, this was because they talk about how Natasha never really knows who her real biological family is because they kidnapped. They talk about later in the movie. Spoiler alert: that they kidnap. That they kidnapped Natasha from her biological family.
She wasn't given up. She wasn't abandoned. Like they were like how she was told.
They tell her earlier in the movie. Actually, they're telling her right now. But later in the movie, they find out that the Red Room kidnapped her from her real family and gave them to Melina to train to be in the Red Room. So we're kind of getting to that point where people are starting to think, Rachel Weisz is the Taskmaster. So that we're getting to that point. I will say this: I thought it was kind of funny, and only maybe a handful of people actually got the joke. In the movie, they what's his name? Is the Red what? What's Alexei's character's name?
The actual like Red something, dude. I forgot, bro.
The Red Warrior? No, son of a bitch.
I'm checking right now. Let me check it.
Well, in it,
it's not Red Warrior. It's like the red. 1 second. It is the Red Guardian.
Red Guardian. There you go.
Yeah.
Of course, he's a super soldier. We do know that he has gotten the super soldier serum, much like Steve Rogers did, because most people out there were trying to create super soldiers. We do know that part of the Russian government, in conjunction with Hydra, was creating super soldiers through the Winter Soldier program. And whatnot. So I thought it was kind of interesting when Alexei and Yelena are talking. She, Alexei's in his full Red Guardian costume, and Yelena's like, "Oh, you and your stupid Crimson Dynamo character." And I thought it was hilarious. And like I said, maybe about a handful of people laughed at that line in the movies because people didn't get it. For those who don't know who the Crimson Dynamo is, the Crimson Dynamo is a similar character to that of the Red Guardian. The Red Guardian is exactly where he is portrayed in the comic books, or I'm sorry, in the movie. He is the Russian Captain America.
Yeah.
But the Crimson Dynamo is I believe is a robot that has, I can't remember, basically a version of the version of Whiplash that we see in Iron Man 2 is an amalgamation of Whiplash and the Crimson Dynamo. I believe the character that is being played is the Crimson Dynamo, and then of course he takes on the moniker of Whiplash, so to speak. But that was kind of funny. They never mentioned Crimson Dynamo by name. But
I got it. Yeah, just but overall, just the scene that plays out, and I know I made it before. They really try to build this ideal of family. What is family, right?
Yeah.
And so they put it out before. I know we skipped over the initial breakout of Lexi, how they talked about, how we talked about before that, how Black Widow or Scarlet, right? She made it known herself early in the movie that she's better alone, right? Even though that the Avengers took her around, even though Shield took her in, right? She's always been better alone. And then she said before constantly that the Avengers are family, treating me like family. And I think Lexi goes, "Well, where's your family now?" Right? So this ideal or this theme of family is very prevalent within the film. What I had to say though, what irritated me was this whole scene, literally 20 years after they were taken, right? They were a family for 3 years, right? They grew up together for about 3 years. They were parents for about 3 years, right? And they have this weird type of not dichotomy, but like this introduction of like, all right, cool. Yeah, we're now trying to act like a family again. Even though it's been 20 years, I've been in jail. This person has been dealing with like knowing how to control people through influence. You've been a child murderer. You've been a murderer who has been a child. Like the we call it, what did Lexi call her? Did call Yelena? She's like the child prodigy who's a murdering child prodigy, something like that, right?
Something like that.
After they
Where he
crashed
talks about,
down
I'm
the
so proud of my
yeah
children, my
yeah
daughters.
you topple Natalie, you topple governments, and you're an Avenger, right? Both your ledgers are soaking red, right? You made that notion, and like both of them, like, stop it, what the hell, right? And the only person like that truly was hurt with all this was Yelena, right?
Yeah.
Granted, the whole thing to me was super cringe for me. Like, dude, like you guys weren't a family. You guys were family for 3 years and all this stuff. But it really brought to home, like, where Yelena's like, but I believed in it. You guys were my family because I don't know who the heck. I was 6 years old at the time.
Yeah.
You were my mom. You were my dad. I thought the best of you. I thought the best of all of you. And Nat is like, Natalie was like, no, I just want to get the freaking red room done. Uh, it was one of those things where like I hated at the scene, but at the same time I felt bad because that scene really mattered to somebody, right? Like they're playing the trope really well, but to someone, to the person there that was literally a fucking child, it mattered the most to her. And so like, okay, that scene, okay, it had some relevancy to it. But granted, again, I'm pretty sure the editing to that scene was bad because of just COVID. Again, editing, it was probably sped up way more than it should have been. And certain things should have been there, shouldn't have been there, but it was because COVID, all that stuff. But yeah.
I just that was funny. They blast him with like about a
Oh
dozen
yeah.
different tranquilizer darts to try to take
You
down
think this will
Alexi.
fix me? You think this will
I
fix
think
me?
the
And then, like,
problem that I
kills him.
had with this movie was you have we see you see at the very beginning of the movie the kids, they're teamed up with with Melina and Alexi,
Mm.
and they steal and try to get away from Shield. And we've spent the better part of 10 plus years building up that Shield is a big deal, that Shield is the good guy, and that we're trying to uh they're running away from, like, and so they're like,
Yeah.
these guys, this family's, they're bad. And then you see Alexi hug Dracoff, and they're like, oh my gosh, this family is a bunch of bad guys. And then you realize that you see the pain in Natasha and young Natasha,
Yeah.
young of course now we see by the I love this scene. And I think this got one of the biggest reactions of the night was when you see Melina shoot you see Melina shoot Yelena with one of those like little shock
Yeah.
blasters,
Yeah.
and you're like, oh crap, Melina's a bad guy. And then she turns around like, oh my gosh, Melina is the Taskmaster. And you turn around and there's Melina face to face with the Taskmaster, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh crap, who is it? Who is it? Is it Mason? We still don't know 100% that it's not Mason, because we see Mason giving the instructions to Natasha at the beginning
Yeah.
of the movie with the RV, and then all of a sudden Taskmaster shows up out of nowhere and beats her up. So we don't know that it's not Mason. But we do know now it's not Melina. And we're at the scene where we find out where the Red Room is. The Red Room is actually a aerial base. And I know a lot of people had a problem with this. The logic behind this is, how was it not found? And I'm like, well, by the same logic, for years that
The airship,
Shield had
aircraft carrier.
a
Yeah.
helicarrier that had
Yeah.
retro reflective panels that made it go invisible. Here, it's assumed that the Russians have similar technology
Yeah.
to that of the U.S. or of that of Shield and whatnot. So why
Yeah.
wouldn't they be? So I didn't have a problem with the logic over a period of time, but it was kind of cool to finally see put a picture, put our eyes on the actual Red Room.
Yeah.
The going back to going what I was saying about what was really tough for me. I know that David Harbour was funny. The character of Alexi was funny, but it was always like, wait a minute, really and truly, Melina and Alexi are bad guys because they're working for Dreykov, even though we find out later
Yeah.
Dreykov put his best friend
In
Alexi
the yeah.
in jail.
Yeah.
And now we see Melina is actually in the same room
Yeah.
with Dreykov. And it's like, well, what the hell? Why should we make, like I said, to go to your point, which is what I was like, oh God, I kind of cringed on the whole family thing too, was like, why am I supposed to feel sorry for this group of people? I get Yelena, she was brainwashed, she got out of it.
Yeah.
Same thing with Natasha, she got herself unbrainwashed by working for Shield and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But why should I care about Alexi and Melina? And spoiler alert, we obviously inevitably find out why. But yeah, it was very difficult for me to I'm with you, Jairus. Why should I care
Yeah.
about the
It's
family? I get the story, and it was
yeah.
kind of cheesy, kind of cringy.
Yeah. Mm.
But
It's definitely this. Yeah, it's definitely this whole thing. This aspect, like they really try to hammer down this ideal of family, but the whole thing, right?
Yeah.
It felt very much like it was trying to be a Fast and the Furious movie in that aspect. Try to hammer down family a lot, but and cool, right? You know, you're
Yeah.
talking about two orphan children trying to find their place in the world, and understanding that having both that having parents in their lives,
Yeah.
someone that to take care of them and look up to, deals heavily in their growth. I understand that, right? It's just more so the what's the word I'm looking for? The aim is there, but the follow through wasn't, right? It just oh no.
Sorry, I just muted my mic. Just stepping
Cool.
away for a second. I was gonna leave my headphones, but I'm gonna take them with me so I can hear. I want to respond to what you have to say, but I just gotta step away
Okay.
just for a second.
Yeah. It's the follow through was there. It's just that no, the aim was there, but the follow through wasn't. It just very much felt like it was rushed. I'm pretty sure it had to do with COVID. I'm pretty sure it had to do with the lockdown. I'm pretty sure it had to do with a lot of things, because editing, of course, is one of the last things that you do in a movie. Of course, editing, CGI, and just some of the other things like voice recording and getting those things to work out. Right. It's just so that I think I'm looking at it in the aspect of a Westerner. Well, technically we're all Westerners, but like in the sense of like an American, right? American values in this day and age, right? I don't know how Russian values are. I don't know if there's any merit in that. Maybe they're looking at that aspect specifically with Alexi, specifically with Melina. Again, I don't know. It's just, for me, it felt very forced to think that that for 3 years you were a family, that all those photos you taken when they initially first see when you initially first see the scrapbook that Scarlett sees, that Melina kept all these years afterwards, that they go through the whole thing of like, yeah, I remember we took this picture, we did Thanksgiving, we did Christmas, and we did some other holiday all in one day with different backdrops, and that that I remember that day. I'm like you were a family for 3 years. I get that the development of a child is in that time frame, but like after that you were killing people left and right. Like it was very much like this weird type of like not dysmorphia, but like this weird type of like desync from reality. Like, okay, cool, you try to be a child, they took it from you, they took this family from you, and then you were literally killing as you were a kid. And not only that, but Alexi and Melina were Alexi was in jail for the next 20 years of his life, but Melina was developing these things on pigs, right, to control their maneuvers, to control their behaviors, right? And I guess cutting off their oxygen until they're able to not die or something like that. So it was just to me it was like a weird type of like uncanny valley feeling, where like you were just a family for 3 years, and not only that, but like you guys saw some crazy shit. Maybe it's the whole thing of trauma that I'm not understanding, but in that aspect, but like I get Yelena's her trauma.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I get it. She was, yeah, they fucked her up bad as a child. 6-year-old kid put into the red room, learning how to kill an individual before she was probably 8 years old, and so that's just crazy.
I will say this, that it was kind of funny as we went to the theater, we went to Disney Plus Premiere Access, thinking we were going to. And I started thinking about this too over the last couple of weeks, and when I rewatched the movie now, I understand that not the entire movie is about her, but that this
Yeah.
is not this Black Widow movie. That's why it's not called Natasha Romanoff. It's called Black
Yeah.
Widow.
Hmm.
Is it's not just about Natasha. This
Yeah.
is in some cases very much a Yelena Belova movie, and
It's an origin story.
yeah, origin story. And we don't know, to go back, Jerry. You talk about the 3 years that they were together. We don't know for sure how long they were together.
Hmm.
You know,
True.
both Melina and Dreykov both tell this a similar side of the story, that Natasha was, of course, who's older than Yelena, and are not biologically related. Um, that it was alluded to that Natasha was quote unquote kidnapped uh, early on, maybe almost at birth.
Yeah.
So when we see her at the
Yeah.
beginning of the movie, we already determined she's 8 years old.
Yep.
So for at least 8 years,
Yeah.
or I should say, no, at the most, she's been with this family for 8 years with
Yeah.
Alexei and Melina.
Possibly.
Um,
I will say too, before to quickly, sorry, cut you off.
oh, here comes
That
the big reveal, by the way.
okay, when we get to that part too. Oh, the reason why they took Natasha is because when Melina said that, no, even though before you were told that your mother left you, no, we found out that through your genetics that you were possibly the best, right? And so they look at her genome or whatever, right, and said that she had these physical traits that like they definitely needed to have. And
That,
so a
by the
lot,
way, yeah,
yeah, a lot of these girls that when they were kidnapped, they were like top tier potential in like all these forms like of having the best assassin. So yeah, that's the reason why she was chosen. And to show that she came from a great lineage, they said before her mother, Natasha's mother, originally did not relent in trying to find that. She's constantly was trying to find her, trying to do anything. And the big bad had said that, yeah, usually no, Melina said that usually, that the civilian, trying to drop some stink, right, is not really a big deal. But your mom was relentless, and so relentless that they actually had to kill her. They killed her. So like, yeah, Matt found that out. So I was crazy that she came from that, where a regular woman not trained as an assassin would go so far to try to find her child. Well, granted, yeah, I understand.
getting to the big reveal that Jared wanted to talk about earlier, and we can get to now, is we know now that Taskmaster is female, and
Mm-hmm.
it's Dreykov's daughter. Of course, both we know that Dreykov and his daughter escaped the explosion that Natasha planted,
Mm-hmm.
and we knew early on in the movie when Yelena mentions it to Natasha that Dreykov's not dead, the Red Room still exists. She goes, "No, I destroyed it." She's like, "Where's the body? You always have to
Yeah.
have the body." And so
Yeah. She
we
said
find out,
like
like I said,
some.
we find out that Dreykov's daughter is, and this is not the first time that Taskmaster has been a female. Actually, as a
Yep.
matter of fact, it was a what if storyline, I think,
Mm-hmm.
involved with Deadpool. I think was
Yeah.
it was a one off. Was what if Taskmaster was a woman? And I know that that particular book has risen in price over the
Mm-hmm.
last 3 or 4 months since,
Yep.
or rather the last 3 months since it's become
Yeah.
prevalent that um, the Taskmaster was going to be female. And of course, the rumors were it was going to be Mason. We know now it's not. We thought it was going to be Rachel Weisz. It's not. So yeah, that's where we're at. What
Yep.
did you think of the big reveal that it was? I know that you are one of the many people that love the character.
Hmm?
You have a lot of fond memories of the Taskmaster character. What did you think
Uh-huh.
of the?
I mean, at this point of my life and being a fan and knowing that, I shouldn't keep my expectations way too crazy high. Like I, being a fan of the MCU, you definitely holster certain expectations, right? You
Yeah,
definitely hold some back, right? Like I was never gonna expect, like specifically Thanos. I It would be crazy to think that we'd have comic book Thanos. That would never gonna happen.
yeah,
We're never gonna have the anthropomorphic version of death somewhere in the universe and Thanos falling in love with her and willing to kill off majority of the universe. No, that was never gonna happen. Right. So this logical step. Having a version of Taskmaster that can full on mimicry, full on remember every bit of your move from just a slight touch or slight things, right? That was never gonna happen. It was never gonna happen, right? Just knowing what kind of punch you would throw, just like the movement of your shoulder, never gonna happen. I mean, just too crazy. It could still happen possibly somewhere down the line, but for this movie, where we're at right now with the MCU, where the greatest fighter, pre Shang-Chi, should still be somewhere between Black Panther and Captain America, if it's just straight up hand to hand. Never gonna happen. So the reveal of I forgot her name, the actual daughter's name, Anastia, I think, or I forgot the what's the name's daughter. Try to find
I
it.
just know it's Dreykov's daughter. No, she has a name and I can't remember.
She has a name. She said it. They said it
They have said it
before.
multiple times. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. I just forgot the name of her name. No, Antonia and
Antonia. Yeah.
Antonia. Yeah, I was like, fine. The way they did it, like she was just constantly looking at video of how Avengers fight in battle, and that she was basically computer. She was basically a cyborg at this point. Cool. My main problem with this though, Olga Kurlenko, amazing fucking actress. I loved her in Quantum Solace. I can't believe that she has been really doing anything. I can't believe that she haven't really given her other roles to fill because she's awesome. Olga is technically older than Scarlett, but in this film she's younger than her.
Yeah.
But I that was just weird to me. Like they couldn't find a younger actress. Like they literally have like 30, 40 younger actors right there playing widows.
Yeah.
But granted, I love that they have Olga. Don't get me wrong. I love that they have Olga. I think honestly, if Rachel Weisz wasn't available, Olga could have been Melina. That's how I looked at it. So like I'm in a weird stance. Like, okay, it's not my taskmaster, but at the same time, it's Olga Kurlenko. She's freaking awesome. I love her. She was definitely my woman crush Wednesday years ago when she was in Quantum Solace, dude. Yeah, I'm so happy that she's. It's gonna sound sad to say it. I'm so happy that she's relevant again, right?
But she's one of those actresses that probably she's always looking for that role.
Yeah.
We find out too what the and we kind of figured that's what it was. We figured out what Dreykov wanted to do with the Widow program. It was hinted at in the opening sequence that he is trying to infiltrate different aspects of the world government. We see him buddy with Bill Clinton, with Condoleezza Rice, with George Bush. Obviously, he's kind of photoshopped into these situations and stuff like that. And we find out too, almost all of these major conflicts, major world events over the course of the last 30, 40 years have been because had been widows at the forefront. Yep. Now, I want to go back.
Actually, just to add on to that one too, which is great callback, because when I saw that moment, right, I immediately thought of the Winter Soldier program, where like even though he had 50 widows around the world, what did Bucky say about the Winter Soldier program? If they had 6 more of him, two of them could enter any type of major city and just topple the regime in a matter of days. And so that great callback.
And the same thing, that's what the Widow program was doing, was they have these kids, these girls all over the place, much like Natasha was with an Iron Man 2. Now, doing a little Wikipedia search on Natasha, we know that her background, when she was working for Shield, not only was she working as a shadow at Stark Enterprises or Stark Industries, but she also was a shadow op for Justin Hammer. So she was trying to call back. Nick Fury had her doing similar tasks, so to speak, no pun intended, to that what she was doing in the Red Room. She was infiltrating these major organizations, trying to find out what is going on, proving that she is one of the world's best super spies. And it's again, little foreshadowing. Now that they're both not under the spell of Dreykov, it makes me lead to who is she working for? Who is Yelena working for? And we'll talk about that here at the conclusion of this movie. Little foreshadowing there. But this kind of right here, and I get you can't have a movie be 2 hours of action packed, and we saw that with Falcon the Winter Soldier, where it was a better TV show than it could have been a movie at all. I remember people were like, "Oh, dude, it could have been such a better movie if they had a budget for." Like, bro, dude, it had a movie budget, and we still got 8 episodes out of it, and it was better as a TV show because the slow parts told a better story. And I think again, with the product of hindsight, Black Widow would have been a damn good Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Let these characters flush out. It was still a very good movie, and we're getting to the climactic action sequence. And I really, really hope that Yelena, who, though it's not official yet, in the comic books, Yelena Belova takes on the moniker of the Black Widow. In the comic books, we know now that Natasha is dead, and her quote sister, and I'm using finger quotes here, is could easily take up the moniker. We don't know that yet, but we'll talk about it at the end of the movie.
It has been okay. Well, I'll say that movie. I was about to say it's just a specific quote that was talked about from the director of the film. She is Catherine Shortland. She did make a comment about a possible handing of that torch, and actually to go to kind of dive back into the recent events of one Scarlett Johansson and her continuous battle against Disney for this movie, and how because you brought up the idea of like this should have been it would have been a really, really good Disney Plus show.
Yep.
Hindsight 2020.
Absolutely.
Hindsight 2020. It definitely would. It's just that they didn't know. Obviously, they didn't know. And even in that sense, after we talked about before, after Black Widow wrapped, when Scarlett said, "Hey, can I do anything else with the character? Can I do anything else? Like, can we do other thing? Can I be in another movie, just cameo? Can we do more with this character, but not in a hands-on role, kind of similar to what RDJ did with, like, Spider-Man, other things, right? Just there for the moment, give his parting advice, right? I would love to see her. I would love to see Natasha in, I don't know, some freaking in some like some flashback sequences with Yelena in a Disney Plus show, and within those 5 years during the end of Endgame during the events after Infinity War and Endgame, where she was ahead of Avengers, basically. That would have been cool to see. But with now the news coming out that they said that Black Widow was the last thing she was ever gonna do, right? Attached to possibly, and that the things of COVID and how her deal wasn't done, and even though her team has constantly been trying to get with Disney, saying, "Hey, can we work out something else? Can we work out something else? We do something else in the back deal, negotiation," and they completely ghost her team, that she had to go out and try to sue them. And there was I made a note to you, the quote. There was a certain quote in the movie I thought was so freaking like meta, where I made note to him, to Kevin. There was the scene when we go back to Elena and Nat having a beer, looking over a family that was that left their car in a garage, right? Where where Elena was talking about Drakov, and how he sees the girls, widows, as weapons where he just easily discard,
Yeah.
right? I, I thought of like the freaking current head of Disney, the current CEO of Disney, looking at all the stars, right? And look how easy it is to discard them because it's easy to get new ones, right? And to me, that was a crazy meta, because he just threw away Scarlet and got Florence, type of thing. Like, damn, that's crazy. Hindsight 2020.
It is, and the fact that the movie was wrapped almost a full year before all of this took place, and
Mm-hmm.
it is unfortunate that that Natasha Scarlett is
Mm-hmm.
having to sue Disney, and what people don't realize too was like JR just mentioned, that more this um what triggered this lawsuit with Scarlett was more so her basically being discarded by I'm not blaming Marvel specifically, but it could have still been Disney saying, no, we're done with you.
Yeah.
um because Kevin Feige has come out and said, never say never. We would love to have her back in some form of fashion. She means so much to this franchise. And Scarlett kept saying, like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. And so, what was it? Was it really the money, or was she hell hath no fear, like a woman scorned?
Possibly.
And that she wasn't getting an opportunity to the movie's wrapped. The movie hadn't gone to theater yet when she was told, no, not interested. Because people don't realize this movie wrapped in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
It went into post-production in early 2020 for a release in May of 2020.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So this movie, by the time it came out, by the time we record this podcast,
She's been brewing on it for
it's
a
almost 2 years
year.
old. This movie is almost 2 years old.
Yeah. She's been
And
brewing on this for a full year.
yeah, well, I'll tell you about, yeah, they announced Black Widow in July of 2020. I'm sorry, July of 19 at Comic
2019.
Con.
Yep.
When immediately they people, I think they were already in production.
Yeah.
For the movie. They wrapped by the end of 2019. Movies don't take don't take 2 years like they used to.
Yeah.
The movie wrapped before the end of the calendar year, went into post-production in early 2020, and the movie was going to be released in May of last year. So this movie, as we're now watching it, has been done for almost 2 years, and it's just now coming out, this whole drama with Scarlett. And drama happened probably back in like the fall of 2019, where they were, hey, it's a picture wrap for Scarlett Johansson, and let's move along, and hey, what are we gonna do? Is she gonna be in this? Is she gonna be in a future project? Blah blah blah. And she wasn't. So that probably where it was. And it still could have been Disney. Real quick too, you talked about the CGI. This final scene with the red room falling from the sky, very similar to that of Captain America and the Winter Soldier. We see Scarlett come face to face with Taskmaster. Scarlett feels bad for what she did. I actually had I don't know why I had a problem with this. I don't know why, but I had a problem with her
still trying to feel bad,
so caring for the girl. And I get that, it eats her up alive that the daughter was collateral damage when she was going after Dreykov back, back in the where she was trying to convert from the KGB to Shield.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It seems with how cavalier, how so callous she was in her conversation with Loki
Yeah.
about like, yeah, I've got some red in my ledger. I need it wiped out. Like, if she really, really were that upset
Yeah.
about killing Dreykov's daughter, she would have shown more emotion in the Avengers. Obviously, it was 2012. They didn't know where this movie
Yeah.
was going to be at, but
Yeah.
um,
I,
then
I
don't
mean,
do that in
yeah.
this movie. I don't know. I just had a
Granted, though,
problem with her.
yeah, granted, I think one thing that I will give a Scarlet, yes, but Natasha, she is a spy. She is supposed to feign levels, have a certain levels of deception, right?
Yeah.
And like she is like that. She is supposed to be that way. But I do feel that her level of grief that she has for this what's her name again? Atonia?
Yeah.
Yeah, Atonia. Where it's supposed to come from the fact that I think what they're going for with her after the reveal was that she's supposed to be some type of like how she failed Yelena, right? Because around that same time, I think what I came up with, right, is that both Taskmaster and Yelena are literally right around the same age.
Yeah.
Right around the same age for that time. And it's supposed to be this whole thing where like she felt bad because like you blow up a child, an innocent child that's not supposed to be there, and that's the thing that sticks with you. And granted, how old Nat at the time too was probably still within her teens at the time as well. And so this, I'm pretty sure it had to do with some type of effect where in order to get rid of your past, you had to do some crazy stuff. But like still though, that type of trauma sticks with you. And so when she is in sight of her horrible misdeed, her horrible sin, staring her in the eye as like an android, this like cold, callous android that is unthinking to a certain extent. Like, yeah, it must feel, you must feel some type of way for her. Granted, again, editing probably wasn't there. COVID, they probably rushed the hell out of it again. Like I'm saying, like I said, man, like parts of this film, I understand what I definitely understand what you mean. Parts of this film feel like it should have been longer, but at the same time, it felt too long. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like some parts definitely should breathe way more than it did. Like the supposed to be insurrection. I got the point. I got the point that Taskmaster and Yelena are very much two sides of the same coin, right? Are very much that way. They're supposed to be this sense. And then this initial reveal where you have Taskmaster is a woman, is the daughter of Dreykov. It's supposed to be the surrogate piece of like sin corporealized within Natalie because of what she had to do to get out of it, and that has supposedly she is the explanation of her sin that she's trying to get rid of, and still there. Yeah, like she feels bad. She feels horrible about it. Of course she would be. It was hella rushed, hella freaking rushed. And I can't believe I had to explain that. Right? I can't believe I had to freaking explain that part for that. But like, it's just like again, man, like. The whole film was just kind of just rushed, and it's supposed to be Scarlett Johansson's fucking swan song, and they did her like this, both in the movie, the release of the movie, and after the movie. So I just feel a certain type of way. I don't know.
Now I'm looking for that. They, of course, at this scene they have Antonia and Natasha have their final battle. Natasha breaks that serum that wipes the brainwash, so to speak, off of Antonia, who of course is the Taskmaster. It should be noted that obviously at the conclusion of this scene, the widows, the remaining widows that escaped the Red Room, are unbrainwashed, and they flee somewhere, and going with them was Alexei, Melina, and Yelena. And Natasha stays behind to to face the music, so to speak, with Shield, and actually more not Shield, but more so the U.S. government with Secretary of State Ross, aka General Ross, aka Thunderbolt, blah blah blah. Taskmaster goes, Antonia goes with with the helicopter with all the best of Black Widows. In an interview during the press for this movie, Kevin Feige said, "We have not seen the last of Taskmaster." So,
Yep.
is this the only Taskmaster? Is there two versions? Are we going to see a more comic accurate? Does someone else take up the mantle, and we're going to see fight Spider-Man and whatnot? We don't know.
I mean, bro, here we are. How many years since Iron Man 2? Since Iron Man. Yeah, 2. Like how many years? And we got actual Mandalorian or actual Mandarin. So possibly.
So there's so much going on. You know, it was like
Iron
you
Man
said,
3,
and
not 2.
really and truly in the long run, I remember when they announced that they were going to do the Mandarin. I remember we were trying to fantasy draft the character, and when they said, I remember someone had said Ben Kingsley, and I was like, okay, dress him up, costume, you could pull it off. And then I remember seeing that first trailer where they released for Iron Man 2, where they first show Ben Kingsley as the Mandarin. I'm like, oh shit, yeah, they could pull this. And then when it ends up being Trevor Flattery, it was like, shit.
Yeah,
I will say that I think my and I get why. We've talked about this in past episodes with times they are a changing. You know, you need to adapt with the times, and that maybe even the Asian portrayed Mandarin, meaning obviously Ben Kingsley is British, but not to say that he doesn't have Asian heritage in his background, but you see the person who is portraying the Mandarin now is a person of Chinese descent. And I get that maybe the comic book version of the Mandarin, some might say, is racist.
Yeah,
I think it's a product. I think it's just a product of the time. But at the same time, is the version that we've seen, and again, maybe we haven't seen the full gamut of the Mandarin in Shang-Chi. Maybe there's some things that they're saving for going to see in the theater. But I was kind of disappointed. It was kind of, to me, was kind of blah, kind of vanilla. There's no real pizzazz to it. So it's like, to me, it's no different than Aldrich Killian saying, "I'm the Mandarin," blah blah blah, before Pepper Potts puts a whole one punches him
off screen, which we never see again.
Yeah, but yeah, again, deviating to the Shang-Chi, let's wait and see with the Mandarin. And like you said, you had Sir Ben Kingsley play the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, and then now they're bringing the quote real Mandarin in. So who's to say that because they say they said, they even said throughout the movie, activate Taskmaster protocol. What's to say that they don't have a whole army of Taskmaster, a whole backup roster, so to speak, of Taskmaster. So we see the movie end. We see Melina, Alexei, Yelena, the Taskmaster, what's her name?
Antonia,
and the widows escape. And we see Natasha seemingly in the going to be captured by Secretary of State Ross. How does she get away? We don't know, because she gets that hero pose. She gets like, looks, the sun setting, blah, blah, black screen. Okay, what the hell? What happened? And then the next scene we see is we get to see a shot from through the trees, and we see a little sun, and we hear a motorcycle off in the distance. It's 2 weeks later from the events. Now, mind you, this is all taking place during the time period between Civil War and Infinity War. Now, getting off the motorcycle is short, blonde-haired Natasha Romanoff. She finds Mason, and they don't say how long Natasha had been on the run when she at the beginning of the movie when General Ross, or sorry, Secretary of State Ross tracks her down. They do mention that that they had captured Sam Wilson, that they had captured Clint Barton, they had captured what's his name, Ant-Man.
Yeah, I forgot his name too.
Yeah, exactly. They'd captured those guys. So one would have to assume, because at the end of Civil War, we see those guys in jail. And so one would have to assume it's only maybe a mere few days. At the beginning of this movie, it's only a few days since the events of the conclusion of Civil War, which means only 2 weeks take place between Civil War and Infinity War. When Natasha goes back up. So we see Mason finds Natasha a Quinjet. She goes over there. Of course, obviously, this means she's going to go find Steve Rogers. We know that Steve Rogers in this movie, in Black Widow, Steve Rogers is on the run still. We know inevitably Steve Rogers breaks into the raft, breaks out Sam Wilson, Clint, and
everybody,
and Ant-Man stay.
Yeah.
So
so
that's how the movie
kind of sense. Yeah.
So go ahead. What's up?
Yeah. I don't know. I was gonna make a comment back on the Mandarin.
Yeah, go ahead.
The Mandarin comment, but yeah, I'm pretty sure I talked about before. For those who've listened to us before about the Mandarin and how it is perceived, it is seen as a racist undertone because of just like there's a lot of racism involved with the name of the Mandarin. Granted, you might not know about it, but it's to some people, to Asian community, it's like saying the representation of a good old boy in America.
Yeah.
Is like, oh, that's white people in America. A good old boy. Right. And so that's kind of the same that's the same kind of concept when you see the Mandarin, because back in the day, of course, how Chinese people were portrayed were very, evil looking, thin mustache looking, devious, long nailed people that just do evil upon you and your family and all that type of shit before. So that was the whole thing. But yeah, this whole the whole concept of like just a new character, or a character, the actual character is still being in the MCU. It's bound to happen. It's freaking bound to happen. We're about to have two Spider-Mans, 2 more Spider-Mans coming into the fucking fold. At least. So it's gonna freaking happen, bro. It's gonna happen. So at that point, I'm cool with it, bro. I'm happy with whatever they need to do. If Taskmaster, if my version of Taskmaster that I grew up with, that I've come to love and see as the better Deathstroke. So fight me on that. Let's have that conversation some other time. But
well, we're in the credits now. We're in the end game now. So if you want to grab your controller and fast forward, if you're still watching along with us, move right ahead. Of course, we all know that the end credit scenes for Marvel movies takes place right around when you get to the movie section, the music section of the credits. So go fast forward to the music section, and then restart with us.
What does it show, Kevin?
What's up?
What does it show, Kevin?
Well, we're going to get to it here in just a second. And it's amazing all the places that they filmed this movie on. Of course, they always give credit to the film commissions of the different places. And they shot this in New Zealand, Australia, Ireland. They did shoot in Budapest. Of course, a lot of the stuff was filmed in Atlanta and in the Pinewood West, or whatever it's called, studios. All right, so the end credit scene starts up. We see a blue truck. We see Yelena, blonde hair with a dog, which she calls Fanny. Of course, that's called back to Fanny Longbottom, the code name that Mason gives Natasha. And we see Yelena kind of in a punk rock kind of outfit walking into a graveyard. And you see a headstone that says Natasha Romanoff, has the Black Widow logo, and it says daughter, sister, Avenger on it. And of course, I don't even care if we get copyright. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. We see her leaning against the gravestone. This is Yelena, and she, symbolically, she she goes to kiss the headstone, but then
Yeah.
she does the whistle. Now, in context, in the movie, that's kind of like the family whistle, so to speak.
Yeah.
So all of us in the theater, when we saw this on this, we're like, if she responds back, this is going to be like, holy shit, Natasha really wasn't dead. So we see her standing before the headstone, and then hold on, there it is. Someone blowing their nose, and it's Valentina. It's Val.
Yeah, Val, just Val.
Val, of course,
Just
we
Val.
met Val in Falcon and the Winter Soldier.
Yep.
Played by
Julia Dreyfus.
Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Now,
Yep.
for in context, guys and folks, this was supposed to be her debut as this character. Black Widow was supposed to, the way it was supposed to be released, if 2020 happened like a normal freaking year, WandaVision, the Disney Plus shows were supposed to launch last year. Black Widow would have came out in May. We were supposed to, I believe, gotten What If last summer. And then I think in the fall, we were going to get Black Widow in the spring, and we were going to get Falcon and the Winter Soldier either in the summer or the fall. Then WandaVision, and of course sprinkled in last fall would have been Eternals and Shang-Chi. And I think we would have gotten Spider-Man. I think, I'm not 100% sure, but we would have gotten Falcon and the Winter Soldier first.
Yeah.
And then we would have gotten WandaVision, which would have led into Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
In the long run, I actually kind of like the way the timelines played out. So it's kind of like, yay, COVID.
Silver linings.
Silver linings.
Silver
So
lining.
in this, play the scene again. Val is here. You can hear it, right?
Yeah, Val basically blames Clint for the death of
So Valentina, we find
Matt.
out Yelena's working for Valentina.
Yep.
Who is Valentina? What is she doing? We don't know.
She's gonna run the Dark Avengers.
Yelena's on quote holiday. She goes, hey, I want a raise, blah, blah, blah. So Yelena reaches into her bag. She pulls out an iPad Nano, should point out there, or iPad Mini. Can't freaking get a bigger iPad. How Valentina knows this, but she shows the picture of Clint Barton. She goes, would you like to have a shot at the man responsible for your sister's death? Now, two of the biggest reactions of the night in when we saw this on premiere night was when you hear the person blowing their nose, we think it's Alexei, because who else is going to interrupt Yelena like that in such a smart alecky way? When the camera pans out and it's Valentina, everyone went at the audible gasp in the theater was like, oh, it was amazing to go back and relive that again. It's to me, this end credit scene was probably one of the better reacted, best crowd reactions that an end credit scene has gotten probably since I'm Nick Fury, director of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm here to talk to you about the Avengers Initiative. It's up there. And when Valentina, when they go through the interaction, we're like, are we going to find out? Because at this point, to us, the fans, we know that Valentina has John Walker and now has Yelena Belova. Who is she putting together? And even if it was the other way around, we know who the team is. When she pulls out the iPad and says, do you want to see who's responsible? You want to be able to take care of the man responsible for your sister's death? And we're like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. And they show the picture of Clint Barton. We're like, she's in Hawkeye. There it is. And we got the confirmation we needed, because back in June, there was just simply rumors that she was going to be in Hawkeye, but it's now a foregone conclusion. But JR, real quick, you mentioned before, and I kind of glossed over it, and I want to go back to it. That's why. Again, right now, Valentina has two members. She has Yelena Belova and has John Walker, U.S. agent, on her quote team.
Yeah.
You are of the belief it is
Dark Avengers.
the Dark Avengers. There is a multitude of possibilities. The Dark Avengers is one of them. Sidebar, I really wish they would have somehow snuck in the name, but we do know that in the weeks between Civil War and in Infinity War, you had Sam Wilson and Steve Rogers were running their own missions, and of course Natasha was doing her own, and the three of them, along with Wanda, and we know now that Natasha went and got Wanda and Vision. So the five of them were quote unquote being labeled as the Secret Avengers, and I really wish they would have. I know it would have confused the shit out of people, but I wish they would have gone with that name. But so you think they're going to create the Dark Avengers? Some people are thinking that Valentina is creating the Thunderbolts.
No.
And we'll see, and we would see if General Ross would be.
No. At this point, unless they de-age General Ross or just full on give him the serum and have somebody else be him, I don't think it's ever going to happen now. It'd be nice.
You know they were going to get Red Hulk?
No, I don't think so. I think that ship has freaking sailed, my guy.
Okay.
I think it really has. I would not be I would not be surprised if it somehow would happen, but like with the current actor right now, I don't think so.
No.
What I will say is
he was running the team.
Probably, yeah, that'd be interesting. Look at it. That would be Dark Avengers. No, I don't know. If he was Dark Avengers, cool. I think it's a big possibility too that this might be New Avengers, Young Avengers, because like you got Yelena, you do have, there is, I think we talked about it before, I think West Coast Avengers, where US agent did infiltrate, right? He was part of the team. He was part of it was a younger team except for him. And
no, I think John Walker infiltrates the actual Avengers.
It was that one. He was in that one too, but like he was also in US. He was in West Coast Avengers too, and he was basically just trying to get like information for Dark Avengers type of thing. I think if I remember that storyline, it's just that how everything's being planned right now with Kamala Khan, with of course Haley Steinfeld's character. Forgot her name. Kate Hudson, Kate Bishop. Elena Belova, possibly getting maybe Amadeus Cho, because
we're getting Ironheart.
We're getting Riri again. We forgot to talk about is gonna be a part of Wakanda Forever, and we need to talk about what the fuck happened in Boston for a little bit too, with Wakanda Forever, and as well as maybe 2-3 more characters to do somewhat of New Avengers. It's that possibility is up there. It's just that when you have Val and how Val is a point of contention for comic fans and what she represented into the comic world before, it's different. Again, MCU, temper expectations, understand, who does she represent now? Is she the new Nick Fury because Samuel Jack is getting older?
Well, and thing, Sam Jackson is off world too. He's off world. Nick Fury is, well,
I guess off world, but at the same time, like in the atmosphere. Well, I guess in the stratosphere.
He's let's put it this way, but rewind. Based on what most people know, Nick Fury is still on Earth. He is just being played by Talos, the Skrull.
Yeah.
Nick Fury is actually on most people believe is Captain Marvel's Earth orbiting base.
Yeah.
The real Nick Fury, that is.
Stratosphere.
I will say this real quick as we wrap it up. What would you give? Where would you rate amongst the movies? Where would you rate Black Widow?
Amongst the full MCU?
Yeah, there's 24 films have come out since 2008. I have my rating.
So. That's hard to do. Like I'm trying. on the spot, I mean, maybe top 10, maybe. And that's if I forget a couple films. I mean, like it's Endgame, Infinity War, Cap 2. I really like Black Panther. I really enjoyed First Cap. Um, yeah, I gotta say top 10 for me. I don't. It's probably lower 10, but it's just more so that it's most likely Scarlett's last film as
Yeah.
Black Widow, and that's fucking sucks because it is what it is. And I'm hoping she wins, and that the fact that Elizabeth Olsen come out in appreciation saying that that she's tough and that she's tough for doing that, and that good for her. I'm like, God, I hope she wins, and just like really just fucking says fuck you to Disney because they're a greedy ass corporation. They're the empire. Come on. So
Well,
it's the last film.
I have Black Widow rated as my number 11 out of 24 films. My number one, for the longest time I had Infinity War, but I'm going to go back to my guns and say that Winter Soldier is my number one MCU movie. I think it's damn near a perfect film. I mean, even to the point where when you go watch honest trailers, they always say like prepare for nitpicking, because they can't shit on
Yeah.
it. Black Widow I enjoyed. I did enjoy the theater experience. It was obviously the first time I had been in the movie theater since December of 2019 when I went and saw Rise of Skywalker. And it was neat getting to experience the red carpet like that for the first time, and just being there in Hollywood. Never been to the El Capitan Theater. I've easily seen Black Widow now probably I'd say about 6 or 7 times since it came out on Disney Plus, counting obviously tonight. Really enjoy it. It is disappointing to see Scarlett Johansson not possibly going to be part of the family, but I think that this whole deal with Disney is going to play out, I think, in the long run in her favor. I think you're going to see the current CEO of Disney be thrown out. I really think so, despite the fact that he's seen record profits in the last 2 quarters of the market.
I
But I think
wonder
that,
why.
well, but that's what he's there for. And I really I think that this is going to play out. I think that he's not going to last. He's not going to last. I mean, we could get into
not to get too political. My own 2 cents of it is just this, and that's it for on this topic. Him taking credit for how good Disney Plus and Disney right now has been doing is kind of like, for me, Trump taking credit for the economy when clearly it was Obama going into those years. That's what I feel like with this guy. Like you're taking credit for a thing that's been literally rolled out to you for you to not fuck up, and you kind of did. Like, come on, my dude. How do you fuck up one of your main stars and then ruin it, become literally a meme at this point in her own freaking movie that you just so clearly want to throw out? Like, bro, just chill the fuck back, pay your people, and just don't fuck with it.
Well, you can go back and listen. We talk about the Scarlett Johansson situation, I think, the last 2 weeks in our first 2 episodes of season 2 of this podcast. I know that in the long scheme of things, yeah, you could go back and listen to my stance. I kind of disagree with JR, but kind of agree with them to some extent. I don't think that the CEO that's in charge of Disney right now should be there, or I publicly tweeted a couple of weeks ago my vote of lack of confidence in him. But nonetheless, I enjoyed the movie. Hope you guys did too. It is available on digital right now. You can download it at most places, including Vudu, Google Play, and Apple iTunes. It is still available on Disney Plus. I believe they said it will not leave Disney Plus Premier Access until October. but you can get it now. Bonus. But people are going like, why should I get on Premier Access and why should I get on digital? Where should I get? Well, obviously, I've had on Premier Access since beginning of July, and have been able to watch it for that long, which is fine. I will inevitably pay the extra money to get the digital copy, because I want to have the full file, like JR said, the 4K Ultra HD digital download. Whereas on Disney Plus, as of right now, I think it's 1080p. I think on 4K has been slowly being rolled out on streaming. But
I will say this. I got off of Amazon, and at the 4K version, I didn't get the special edition version.
okay.
So make sure you know which one to get. If you want to look for extra shit, I yet to check it out personally, but from what I'm seeing, it's just only giving me the movie because the run times are different when you compare like the regular, I guess regular HD movie, the 4K, as well as the regular edition movie with the extra, because I think like a 218 runtime to a 237 runtime. So
Yeah, and
again,
I
just
do
look at that.
know that if you for Apple users, if you go to and buy it off of iTunes, you can I think you get the full flow the full-fledged movie, but you also get all of the bonus content, including the
Yep.
alternate ending, which I've seen the alternate ending. I actually kind of enjoyed the alternate ending. I like the ending we got, because it obviously sets up the events of Infinity War a little bit better.
Isn't the alternate ending with a certain somebody?
The alternate ending is just her going back to her home in Ohio.
Okay, never mind. I thought the other. I saw some weird leak about how the alternate ending was supposed to be that Steve comes back and says, "I'll bring her back" or some shit. But
No. The alternate ending for Black Widow is she goes back to her home in Ohio, and she sees. Obviously, it's at the. I don't know what the exact timeline is, but you basically see people. You see kids playing Avengers, so to speak, and there's a girl playing Black Widow, and she kind of waves at her, and the little girl's like, "Oh my gosh, it's the real Black Widow." But yeah, there is the alternate ending, of course, all the behind the scenes and whatnot is available on the digital download and stuff like that. So that's available now. Yeah, people are asking too if we're going to do Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. We probably won't do that until it comes out on Disney Plus or digital release, which we do know now that both Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings and the Eternals will get a digital release within 45 days of its theatrical release, which is basically what we know now is the going rate for back when we were a kid. When we were a kid, you would almost go anywhere between 3 to 6 months between when a movie finished running in the theater and when it got a home video release. Now we're seeing it's anywhere between 60 to 90 days is when you're getting a home theater release. Now we're knowing it's a month and a half, maybe a month and a week. No, about a month and a half. We're going to get a home theater release for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings and the Eternals. No word yet on what it will be for Spider-Man, because they have to share profits with Sony Pictures. So we'll see how long that stays in the theaters in December. So let us know in the comments below what you thought of Black Widow. Now that it's been full on spoiler alert on this version of the podcast, and I'm sure we will openly talk about the end credit scene a little bit more openly. We've been kind of not talking about it, kind of flirting with it. But now that we know we're getting Hawkeye in November, and Black Widow is now readily available to most people. We're gonna talk more openly about this end credit sequence and what it means for the future of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So yeah, that's it, guys. Again, PS Comics I Love You on Instagram and Facebook. PS Comics I Love at PS Comics I Love the letter U on Twitter. PS Comics I love you at gmail.com if you want to email the show. Share us, like us, subscribe, do whatever you got to do. And hope you guys really enjoy this. And if you want us to do more watch alongs, more breakdown of Marvel movies, let us know in the comments below. He is Jared Cabacungan,
Yes,
Dark
I
King,
am.
at also not Jared Comics 42. No flex pool tonight. We'll probably bring that back next week.
And I forgot to add, Letitia Wright did get injured. Did take an injury in Boston doing Wakanda Forever. So just let you know, just a small bit of news. She's
all right.
Hopefully she's fine.
That.
Yeah.
Plus, we will follow the rumor. We'll talk about this next week. The rumor that we might be. This is a little tease for you. That the Marvel Cinematic Universe might be getting the Illuminati. We'll talk about that next week. I'm Kevin Pillow at Voice of Reason 23. And again, guys, thank you so much. Be nice, be kind to one another, wear your damn masks, and as always, peace.